Okay. Should we start?
Yeah, please.
This many times this ring light, it focuses on it comes on my
If you look
my
up,
glasses.
then
Yeah,
yeah, but now it's okay.
it's okay.
If you look down, then it's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, hello and welcome. I'm Preeti Prakash with you today with a new episode of Nation Talks. India has a general election next year, that is in 2024. We also have an assembly election in this year in almost half a dozen states: Karnataka, Mizoram, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Telangana. Association of Democratic Reforms is a democracy watchdog. It's a 23-year-old organization. It works in the direction of political and electoral reforms. I have with me head ADR Major General Anil Verma. Well, a very warm welcome to you, General Verma. I would like to start by asking, and also saying that we very rightly say that we are always in an election mode, in a state of elections. The next coming months will be seeing electoral exercises in many states. There are issues like fair elections, electoral bonds, criminals getting tickets, accountability, then flouting of model code of conduct, election commission's role, and the intervention of Supreme Court, and so on. How do you see these elections, General Verma, considering the divide in the socio-political space in these times?
Okay, thank you, Preeti, for giving me an opportunity to speak to Metamorphosis and your audience. See, as you rightly mentioned, we are generally in an election mode because we are a vast country and so many states are there. And every now and then, and not only, by the way, these elections of the state assemblies and the general elections, we are also all the time having local bodies elections in some part of the country or the other, which are in some ways very big. I mean, there are so many districts, and each district they go for voting, whether it is for sarpanches or for zilla parishads and things like that. So there is, of course, this proposal which the current ruling party keeps putting up about one nation, one election and all. But that is a separate subject altogether for debate. It has its pluses and its minuses. So, and none of the other parties are willing to accept it. So I don't think it will come through. So we will probably, because it has a lot of legal and constitutional issues also. Curtailing the tenure of some state assembly, enhancing the tenure of some other state assembly. These all require constitutional amendments, which, unless there is a consensus among the political parties, it will never happen. So, be that as it may, if I may recall, I'm talking to you all exactly after a month. My last talk was on 19 March 22. And that time also, you had asked me to discuss about electoral and political reforms, which basically ADR works in. And it's a very vast subject. There are huge number of reforms which are required, which various committees from time to time have been formed. The Law Commission is there, and they have all been giving their recommendations to the governments. But one thing is, very good about these political parties, that all of them, 100%, don't believe in reforms, whether it is for their internal political party functioning or for the conduct of the elections. Now, I'll just quickly recap the points which I had given last time also. Amongst the electoral reforms, what we, ADR, believe in, what should be done is remove the criminal elements from the politics. They should declare their sources of income. There should be a register of members' interest in the Lok Sabha as it is there in the Rajya Sabha, in which, they state what is their business, what are their interests, so that there is no conflict of interest. Then there has to be ceiling on the political party's expenditure. There should be preferably state funding of elections and not the type of funding which is going on now, which is from corporates, 99%, I would say. Then We suggest also that the requirement of winning elections should not be as it is now, first past the post system, wherein whether you get 10% or 20%, as long as you get the highest number in your constituency, you win. There should be a system wherein you should get at least 50% of the votes which are cast in your constituencies. Okay. Then there is an improvement to, there is a need to improve the nota system, none of the above system. Because presently, a lot of people consider it as a wasted vote. Because after all, you're not voting for anybody, but you're registering your protest. And sorry, the the reason why Supreme Court had given this judgment was they thought it will put some pressure on the political parties and they'll give tickets to better people or people with no criminal thing. That never happened. Therefore, there is a need to give some more teeth to nota. Then should be a reduction in the time for filing the election expenditure. It should be done quickly. Right now, there is too much of time is given, and that too they delayed. Then there should be action against candidates who fail to file their expenditure. Strict penalties should be involved in the electoral malpractices. There should be a law against the use of too much money in the elections. There should be provision for verification of the candidates' affidavits, because right now they submit all the details, but nobody is scrutinizing them, verifying them. So they can write with whatever, though it is illegal to write anything wrong or skip anything, but we are not very sure what they are submitting. Better management of electoral rolls. This is a grave problem in our country, though the Election Commission keeps doing something or the other every time before the elections, but still hundreds and lakhs of names are deleted all of a sudden just before the elections when the voters can't do anything. Then multi-party collegium system of appointment or EC and SEC. This I will talk to you in a more detail because of the recent judgment which ADR has won, the Supreme Court. Prohibition of taking office after retirement by the election commissioners. Candidates should be prohibited from contesting more than one seat. Right now, that practice is there. When they want to be safe, they contest from two. Now, in the political reforms, there should be introduction of a law for provision of inner party democracy, financial transparency in accounting of the political parties, electoral bonds, I will again talk about later, foreign funding to political parties, regulate the registration and deregistration of political parties, bring comprehensive bill for the regulation of political parties, declare political parties as public authorities, that is, they come under the RTIs. Affidavits, information of the candidates should be certified by the political parties. There should be a system of annual reports to be submitted by the MPs and MLAs to the citizens, to the voters. And there should be a separate body to decide their pay and allowances, because right now they decide whatever they want by passing a bill in the assembly or the parliament. So this is a laundry list which I have just read out. Apart from this, there are a number of other suggestions and this thing, recommendations which parties and various organizations have given, but nothing has happened. So the basic thing as per us, which is facing our electoral and political system, is the ill effects of the money and muscle power, which is rampant in our electoral system. And, Rajendra Prasad ji, the first president of India, he had said that Constitution is a document. It does not have a life of its own. It is as good or as bad as the men who execute it. Let's hope that India will produce noble men of character who will do this. Now we know what type of people we are producing and who are in the politics. So, another thing was that, the political parties which do not have internal democracy in their own functioning, how can you expect them to be fully democratic outside? Sorry. So, winning candidates who become MPs and MLAs, they take an oath after when the swearing in is done. And this oath is taken on the Constitution, to follow the Constitution during their swearing-in ceremony when they say this. But how much of it is followed, we all know. It is more in the negative than in the positive side. So you'll be surprised to know that people like us, we are governed by so many laws. And if you step out of line, you are immediately, penalized, whether it is a fine or jail or whatever. But there is no law regulating the political parties till now. And they will never let it happen also because they are happy. They want to be. I'm sorry, the way things are. Another great anomaly in our system. You can contest elections while you are in jail, but you cannot vote while you are in jail. So lakhs of people are incarcerated in the jails, awaiting trial for years. But politicians who are charged with heinous crimes can not only contest elections, they win elections, and they complete their 5-year tenures. And the so-called fast-track courts, which are there, which were established, continue their trials at snail's pace. So nothing moves. So, like I said, there are a number of reports of various committees and commissions, and nothing great is done toward. So now the point is that, if you look at it objectively and not through the lens of any particular party, ruling or otherwise, the fact is that India is slipping in various indices which are recognized at international global levels. For example, corruption index, hunger index, democracy index, malnutrition, employment. I'm sorry, a bit of bad. So, should we lose hope? And should we do nothing and hope that change for the better will come about on its own? Or that the political parties will, by a miracle, change and become transparent, accountable, and democratic in their internal functioning and provide ethical governance? So, ADR is an organization, which is convinced that this will happen only through educating the masses, motivating them to choose good candidates who are honest, efficient, and will provide ethical governance. Our motto is very simple. Achhe ko chuno, sache ko chuno. And for the last 22 years or so, ADR has been engaged in this fight with muscle and money power, which dominates the political system, by grassroots level voter education, judicial activism, creating public awareness through print, electronic, and social media, and holding the political parties accountable on political funding and criminality. The fight is by no means easy. To use a military term, it is like a long-term guerrilla warfare against extremely powerful forces. But even with our limited resources, we are at it and we will continue. So, just to give an idea as to what is the upward trend in criminality. In Lok Sabha 2019, 43% winners have declared criminal cases against themselves. In Lok Sabha 2014, that was 34%, and during the 2009, it was 30%. So there is an increase of 44% in the number of MPs with declared criminal cases since 2009. Now, this is an increase of 109% in the number of MPs with declared criminal cases. Then there is a report which we made. This is called the C2C7 report, which, after the directions of the Supreme Court, the political parties had to submit this report to the Election Commission of India, in which they have to give reasons for fielding candidates with criminal background. And the reasons given by the political parties, you know, were so, I would say, inane and silly, but nothing was done about it. The intention was that the Supreme Court again wanted to create pressure on the political parties, that once they have to amplify and show to the whole world that these are the reasons why we have given tickets to people with criminal cases, they may be able to, take a better position as to who to vote for it. So the reasons given by them, sorry, that the candidate is popular, he has previously won elections, he is the best candidate and no alternative is available. So can you imagine, these are the types of in writing they have given to the election. So speaking about the reason behind the acceptability of criminal candidates among voters, it is observed that the voters view these strong men as someone who can get things done. Voters prefer tainted candidates who are seen as powerful and can ensure some access to government services and jobs. We had conducted a big survey on all the constituents of the Lok Sabha. And contrary to popular notion, voters are not only informed of politicians' criminal background, but they willingly vote for such. This is a sad state of affairs. So that is why I say voter awareness is extremely important. Because unless and until they understand that if they keep electing such people, they, after winning, sorry, they will continue, after winning, whatever they have spent, they will recoup 10 times or 5 times that money. And we all know these limits which are there for election expenditure are not adhered to, like 40 lakhs and 70 lakhs for each parliament. They spend 10 times or 15 times more amount than that, but in their reports which they submit after elections, they will never exceed. They will actually show only 50 to 60% of this. So, so the other thing is about the transparency and accounting. Now, the Finance Act 2017 was enacted as a money bill, which introduced the electoral bond scheme for the purpose of electoral funding. The act removed some of the previous limits, which were there, the checks and balances. Like a company had to be profitable. It had to restrict its donations to political parties to not more than 7.5% of its profits. All these conditions which were there were removed. And that is why these have resulted in opaqueness and heightens the odd of conflict of interest and also drastically increases the black money and corruption. Leads to creation of shell companies and rise of Benami transactions. And it's a breeding ground for crony capitalism and quid pro quo. Electoral bonds have legitimized the illicit money in our electoral and political system to the tune of more than, as of now, the latest figure is 12,000 crores has been donated to political parties. So these are some of the issues which I wanted to highlight. And like I said, all the political parties join together if any attempt at reform is made. Now, over the last few years, we saw that there is a deterioration in the quality of election commissioners who are being chosen. As per the constitution, they have to have a tenure of 6 years. And I had written an article on this after the judgment came out. in which I showed that the last 6 election commissioners had tenures varying from 2 years, 3 months to a maximum of 3.5 years. None of them had a full 6 yet. So some of the decisions which were taken during these last few years were not good. And so many small things were there, like the model code of conduct was not adhered to.
Yeah.
Action was taken against certain people, but not against certain powerful people. To the extent that in some cases, even the dates of the elections were, suspiciously announced at the instance of somebody.
Mm.
Because there was a flurry of uh, foundation stones to be laid as per a particular sequence, and only when that was completed, then the dates were announced, and so forth.
Yeah.
So that is why we filed a PIL along with some other people that there has to be a system of appointment of the election commissioners, not the existing one, because right now the sole power is with the executive. And that is why this judgment which came on 3rd March was a very welcome judgment, in which the Supreme Court said that there has to be the Prime Minister, the head of the leader of the opposition in the parliament, or if he's not there, then the leader of the largest opposition party in the parliament, and the Chief Justice of India, who will form a sort of collegium to uh, select the election commissioners. So whether this will bring about a change, I don't know. But it is a good beginning.
Yeah, but also, General Verma, do you see in these coming elections, are you hopeful of any change or anything happening principally as far as reforms is concerned in these coming elections?
I frankly don't think so. It will continue the way it is continuing. Yes, there may be some, what should I say, caution imposed on the election commission this time because of this judgment.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to be seen as apparently doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So, and incidentally, we are also in the process of filing another PIL challenging the appointment of the latest election commissioner, Mr. Arun Goyal.
Okay.
I don't know whether you are aware or the listeners are aware. He was appointed at super speed in 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
He put in his papers, voluntary retirement in October. This is when the Supreme Court was hearing this case of ours.
Mm-hmm.
He put in his voluntary retirement papers. They were accepted, and he was appointed the next day, which happened to be a Saturday. So the government, when it wants, it can work on Saturdays, Sundays, and others. But anyway, so the Supreme Court even questioned this. What was this urgency of this lightning speed at which this person was appointed? What systems were followed?
Mm-hmm.
So they, whatever answers they've given, nobody is convinced with them. So that is why we are planning to file another this thing for it. But let's see what happens.
Yeah, so many things are happening at a lightning speed these days, particularly
Yeah.
just with what happened to Mr. Gandhi in his.
Yeah.
So that is a big issue raised by the opposition, that everything has really happened with such alacrity,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My next question to you, General Verma, will be Parliament is a very important component of the democratic framework. Since some
Okay.
time we've been witnessing how the Parliament is actually functioning. Sessions after sessions go wasted with no debate happening. Obstructionism is the strategy. Bills are passed without discussion. Latest example is of that budget appropriation bill, which was just passed in a matter of hours, I think, without discussion. And also,
Yeah.
as the opposition says, and their members, they were not allowed to speak in parliament. Rahul Gandhi's speech in Lok Sabha was expunged when he spoke of Adani, and so on and so forth. So, do you think we're losing our plot on democracy And as foreign think tanks and opposition both, say that we are heading towards a presidential democracy or autocracy or whatever you say.
I know there are a lot of people who say that this is an autocratic democracy, and some foreign agencies are saying that. I personally think that it's not such a bad thing. We are still the world's largest democracy. The way our elections are held is considered the gold standard in the world. I mean, no other country can conduct elections like this, and the results are accepted by everybody. The parties may keep raising a hue and cry, but they accept the results, and governments are chosen and they work as per their tenure. That is one part. But the other part which you're raising, yes, this disruption in the parliament is a direct reflection of the type of people we are choosing and sending to the parliaments and the legislature. Just to give you a little statistic, in the disruptions, time lost in the Lok Sabha, 14th Lok Sabha, 13% of the time, 15th Lok Sabha, 37% of the time, 16th Lok Sabha, 16% of the time. In the Rajya Sabhas, 14th Rajya Sabha, 14% time lost. 15th Rajya Sabha, 32% time lost. 16th Rajya Sabha, 36% of the time was lost due to disruptions. Now, in the 17th Lok Sabha, it is too early. Budget session is one of the first ones, I think. So we will get to see the statistics of it. But it is apparent that every day there is hangama and the parliament doesn't function, and it is adjourned repeatedly due to the behavior of the political parties. And this whataboutery business which the political parties indulge in, that तुम्हारे टाइम में भी ऐसे ही होता था, तुमने भी किया था तो हम भी किया. Now, two wrongs don't make a right. The fact is that the world is seeing, our own public is seeing the way these so-called Mananiyas are behaving in a most disrespectful manner in the election. And not only in the parliament, you see in the state assemblies also, it is the same thing. Their flower pots and mics and things are thrown at each other and papers are torn and things like that. Now, this is absolutely reprehensible, I would say, the way they function in this thing. But the privileges and immunities which the legislators enjoy under Article 105 and 194 of the Constitution. Firstly, they have freedom of speech. They can't be prosecuted for that. Second is, they have freedom from arrest 40 days prior or after a session from the premises of the legislature without the permission of the House. Okay. Third, the legislature has the power to regulate the internal affairs, including disruptions, vandalism, violence of the House, and the courts and police cannot interfere. Okay. Now, coming to the punishments. They can be punished for breach of privilege by the House itself. Okay. And this includes imprisonment, fine, or suspensions. Now, the question to the political parties is why the mildest form of punishment is given for vandalism and acts of hooliganism and misdemeanor. Why fines have not been imposed? Have you seen anything like this happening? We haven't. The Code of Conduct, Rajya Sabha, in the chapter 9, it states very clearly for a member not to bring disrepute to the parliament, not misuse the amenities and facilities granted to him or her, maintain high standards of morality, dignity, decency, and values in public life. Now, please tell me how many of them follow this. And like you mentioned in this current budget session, 2023, because of continued disruptions, the third week budget Finally, in the third week before the break that they had, the budget of 2023-24 and four appropriation bills, they were passed without any discussion. So this is where we are. So now, point is that I have read out nobody can punish them. It is the house itself. Yes. So they have to take a call. And this is what I always say. When you talk to politicians, somebody else is to blame. Either it is the election commission which has to sort out things, or it is the government which has to sort out things. But the political parties themselves are not held responsible for anything. So the point is that the only thing which they are afraid of is losing elections. And that power is in the hand of the Janata, the voter, the common man. And unless and until we get our act together, things will continue like this. They are deteriorating as far as money and muscle power goes. So we have to educate the voters. They need to know that the way things are going on now is not the right thing. You should not be voting on the basis of caste, religion, regionalism, and such like things, or some emotional issue. Balakot ho gaya ji, Modi ji ki army hai ji, or all this nonsense which goes on. So we have to understand all this thing and educate people that, please elect good people, and then maybe after some time the political parties will get the message.
Yeah, but I mean, the entire concoction of elections, uncontrolled elections in a way, in the favor of political parties, and the falling standards of our parliamentary democracy in a way is not a very good foreboding, though we surely will be very optimistic, and we are that we are one of the still the best democracies in the world. And as far as the voter education that you're saying, yes, it's very important for the voters to get educated, but somehow the election system has become a way that even most of them don't go to vote. Firstly, there's a large population which does not vote only because of whatever reasons they have, and the ones who are voting are, you may say, they're generally from the lower strata, who are always, a kind of enamored by doles or whatever, and so they vote that way. So I wonder how this educating the voter will also go, how long, particularly because we are such a vast population. And I think the present dispensation has mastered the art of uh, winning elections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is why I'm saying we have spent a lot of time, 22, 23 years on this. There is no other way that the things can improve. Because you cannot force anybody in a democracy. Democracy is, yes, it is chaotic, it is, noisy place, which is fine. But as long as there is some ethics, some rules to be followed. So as of now, I would say 80% of the reforms which have taken place are because of judicial intervention. And now you see, if the judiciary does something, then they say that it is overreaching.
Yeah.
It's entering in Lakshman Rekha and all that. You heard these guys use these language, the vice president and the law minister. So then they will get into a confrontation mode with the, if you win elections by 31% of the country's population, that doesn't mean that everybody else, can be totally disregarded.
Yeah.
Which
That's
means
what is called
67% of the people have not voted for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but this is what you call majoritarianism, which is now slowly creeping in. We have to understand. And let me tell you, it is not a question of uneducated or educated or the well-to-do or garib. They are all very well aware. Everybody is aware. And by the way, I would like to correct you. The voting percentage is increasing. It's not decreasing. It is the urban population, especially the younger lot, who do not go out and vote for various reasons. Chutti hai, or just chill, or it's not important, or what difference does it make? That is the cynical attitude.
Yeah.
That is why one of the projects which we undertake is educating the youth.
Mm.
Like I myself go to colleges and speak to students. We hold webinars in various institutions. We have campus ambassadors in various prestigious institutions all over the country. And we
Mm.
tell them to organize things where, webinars, questions, debates, discussion of things. So people are getting aware. And more so because of the social media and the internet, people are getting aware. YouTube is, you see anybody on the roadside also, he's watching YouTube.
Yeah.
That is a very powerful medium, and we are using all these mediums. But we need to do more. I mean, we are just a very small organization, but lot needs to be done in this. But unless and until the voters and the political parties get involved, this will continue.
So finally, the takeaway is that the buck stops at the level, and yes, elections do keep coming every 5 years. So it's not too late. It's just again 2024 where we'll have another elections, and if voters are educated properly and they see and realize what's happening and what is the best for the country,
Yes.
hope we will still remain a parliamentary democracy in
Oh,
future.
yes, we will. Don't worry.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Anil Verma, for your insights. I hope our viewers enjoyed the listening to Anil Verma. Do like, subscribe, and comment. If you want to share your views, also you can do that in the comment section. Don't forget to press the bell icon button for more updates. Until I meet you next with another issue. Signing off. Take care. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste.